what are the use cases of Drona HQ is, so basically you have a existing system which you want to modernize, or you want to digitize your existing pen paper flow, or existing optimization in your organization, or you want to speed up the app development of your team. So those are the some of the use cases of Drona HQ. So I'll explain like Drona HQ as a whole. We have a containerization concept, we call it. Basically, it's a single app development platform where you can host or deploy multiple mini apps. So you build all those mini apps over the air, and those deployment cycle also takes care over the air. So I just so you would have received a link to a studio.dronahq.com. So share here. So there are three parts to it. One is a app builder platform, which is studio.dronahq.com. I'm already logged into it, so it will take me to the login home screen of that, where you create create your applications. So essentially, it means is you can have multiple admins who can build an app. So in a traditional case, there is a development team, there is an operational team. So that, in that sense, you can relate to this as a, you can have multiple admin users to create the application. Second is there is a web.dronahq.io. That's a end user portal. So we have, other than Drona HQ web app, we have Android, iOS, as well as public app support. So web.dronahq is our web end user portal for web application. Similarly, there is Android and iOS app we have created. So that is one way of distributing your application to your end users. So the end users can be your employees in your organization, or it can be actual customers you have. And thirdly, there is a public app. What we call is, you can share the link to your app and anyone can open that. So you can embed that page in your website. It could be a basic survey you want to take from any users, or so that is the third use case of Drona HQ. Okay, so here you can see, like you deploy, build your app once, and you deploy in all the platforms which we discussed earlier. So now in Drona HQ Studio Console, there are various features we have. So we'll discuss only in brief these features. So I'll open the platform. So over here on the left side, you can see there are various features like app connectors. You can connect your backend database or REST API. And then there is a support and community link. So community link would be shared in the chat window.
I hope this meeting is being recorded and accessible later for us.
Basic queries on working with the platform, you can ask in the community, and we can respond and answer those queries. And support is basically, you can if you face any issues or you have any feature request, you can raise it in the support. So that is the app builder part, and there are various other security features which are there. That you can find it under account settings, and there is a concept called catalogs. I don't have that access right now. So catalog, we call it as template. So in most of all your apps, you deploy it to all your users. But in some specific use cases, suppose you are developing your app for your sales team. So in that case, you will create a sales template. You will publish that app in that sales catalog. So only users who have access to that sales template will be able to access the application. So that is where catalog come into picture. In small scale, though that is not required. And the third important thing is user management is what makes it the granular level user man access we have. So due to resolution, I am not able to scroll on the left side. But here you can add users. So there are different types of users which you can add. So as I said, admin is the one that other users can also develop application. So that is the administrator kind of user. And then there are various creator role as well, where you want the not an admin user, but you want a developer to develop the application, but you don't want to give full access to your application. Like there are a few rights of publishing rights, rollback rights. Those are all restricted for the creator role. So those above two are specifically related to our studio.dronahq.com domain. But the end user role which is there, that is where I told you three distribution platform: web, Android, iOS. So whatever users you add it for the end user role, they will be able to access it through that. So these are the three roles. So user management. Let's move along. This is, I think, what we discussed earlier. So now coming to our app development. Okay. So I also created a test account like you all guys just before the meeting.
You can have more roles than what we default roles are there.
For the admin, currently these are the app creator role is a different role. Right now, these are the two roles we have.
On the real life scenario, these three roles do not serve my purpose.
So I'll come to that. If your real life scenario is at the app level, no? So there are permissions you can give at the app level. So I'll just show you.
This is the administration of app development.
This is the access to the studio.dronahq.com. So now after you give the access, you can have granular level permission as well. So here in the edit permission, for example, I have. So over here, there are various roles which are there. Viewer role. So for an app specific, it applies to your app. So usually this would be the scenario where you have an application. You want to give access to that application to a particular user. So in that there are various roles. There is only view only role where user can only view that application. They won't be able to make any changes. So those are mainly useful for your testing team. They can access to that. So that is one. Second, there is some roles we are making where there you can publish the application, which is the admin user. There is something called owner. So once you assign an owner, they can set permissions to other users. So So I'll just refresh. Yeah. Okay. So that granular level permissions, still I don't have access to that. So, but I spoke to you, which is available in the business, not the business plan, but the enterprise level plan. But I think using catalogs. Yeah. So using catalogs for the end user, at least you can have a different kind of view-based access to your application.
So I give you a Drona HQ main screen where I am creating. Okay, so I am organizing. In my organization, there is a different development need. So I will enable my different teams to do their stuff. Okay. So different teams should have the access of administration also, but one team should not get into others' team's work. Four departments, they have their own Drona HQ.
Right.
Okay. So instead of creating, I am from Lyra Network. So Lyra Network domain has been created under Drona HQ.
So
Then my different departments have to have their own set of applications, which they will develop by themselves. But HR should not get to account should not be. So that restrictions should be required. With these three roles, I suspect I would be able to maintain.
I think that granular level permission is what you would require in that case. But with that,
you note it down when you go to that task. You can explain how we can.
Yeah, we have that, but
what we'll do is once we reach that stage, we switch an account to an account which has granular level permission.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to show it to you.
No problem.
Okay. You want me to switch now?
No, please continue. First, we'll reach that stage. I think
Okay. Okay. So I'll just open one app and just to explain like how the architecture of Drona HQ is. So let me open a tutorial app first. So Drona HQ follows a pull-based architecture. So what it essentially means is when you bind the data to a control and that control value changes and that control is referenced to another API call or a control. So that gets automatically triggered. So you don't have to write any business logic to specifically call those connector or API calls. So that is the more overall architecture where anywhere you will see wherever you have bind a particular control, you will be able to automatically we call those change events. So, and there are two main things in our application. Like anything you want to display, you would like to bind the data to it, and any action you want to perform, you will trigger an event or use that particular event. So these are the two things broadly classifies any app development architecture. So now these are the various data binding options we have in our application development flow. So I think I'll just quickly tell you that static data. So in static data, you can give static values to a control, right? So hello, welcome user, all those comes under static. You can even use keywords and all in the static. We'll come to that, like the data builder part. There are various, similarly, there are other data binding options, like you can reference the value from another control. So you can put under control. Variables and keywords, we provide few set of pre keywords, which are login, user email, all. So there are large set of keywords. Along with that, this query string is now clubbed into a variables and keywords. So in the today's session, we will cover the query string part as well. And the connectors is the most important part, which is the backbone of any application, a backend which is there. So that is how you bind a connector, and custom formula is for any custom formulas you write, or there are presets of formulas which we provide. Those doesn't fit in above options, you can use that. Those are mainly very less used functions which you can use using custom formula. So now the second part is action flow. We call it action flow. It gets triggered on any particular event. Okay, so if there is a button, click event for a button is a event for us, and you write the action flow for that. Similarly, it's a drop down, value change would be a event. So, for text input, value change or focus out, all those are events. For screen, when the screen opens, screen open would be a event. So screen open, then there is other. So we provide a different set of users, different set of events based on context. So I'll show you. So if this screen is focused, I go to the events, it will show screen open and screen event. If there is a particular control I have dropped, so if that is on focus, the events of that would be value change, enterprise, focus out. If it's a button, similarly, there will be a different events for those use cases. So coming to this, so this is how action flow. So designing a action flow would be, you can design any complex set of flow. You can imagine a flow chart where you want to perform action A, then perform B, then call a connector, get a response from a connector and bind it to another control. All that you can do it using the action flow which is available over here. Okay, so now let's start. So I think a lot of I'm talking. Now let's do something cool. So I would request everyone to log in into the studio login access, and let's click on the tutorial app. So it will show you a step-by-step guide of getting started with Drona HQ.
I have one query. When I open the studio.dronahq.com and enter my email ID,
Just
I'm getting error.
closing.
User is not an admin. Hello.
Okay, so I would request like everyone to start with learn Drona HQ in 5 minutes. So once you click, it will take you to a tutorial pop-up, and so let's click on take the tutorial. It will open a new app. Okay, so let's click on start. So here it will ask to select a template. There are a few sets of readily available templates. If you don't want to build your app from scratch, you can select the pre-filled template. Let's select the first one. So it automatically added a table grid control. There are few other controls which have been added over here. Let's click on data. It will ask us to bind a connector. So let's click on select connector. Let's add a new connector. It's a MySQL connector. So we can do it ourselves, but let's ask the genie to do it for us. Do it for me. Let's click on test connection. So do let me know if I'm going a bit fast. So we just follow these steps.
Connected when they are databases.
Yeah.
These are my databases, or I can use their.
Yeah, these are all your connected databases, or you can create a new one. The tutorial will ask you to create a new one. So this is just to get you started with the platform.
Finally, is this there any connection code? Means whenever we write, hello. Finally, this side Ganesh, hello.
So you can click on do it for me. It will auto-fill those. So all good with the question. Yes, there are several questions here. So I'll you reached add query stage.
Yes, Ganesh, you are asking something?
Yes, Anil, I am just asking that thing. How to we will create a connection between my database to your application? Means I have my own database. So is there is any connection we have to write down? Hello.
Shall we proceed?
Is anyone is there?
Otherwise, you're facing some issue, you can refer to your setup right now. Okay, so once we do add query, you can write your own queries. I've just done a do it for me. It basically adds select star from customers tables. It will test your query. And you see behind there is a results which we get to see.
Anil,
I'm not doing it
Anil,
because
can you
it
able to hear me?
will then stop the
Anil,
genie. So I'm just going next. Proceeding.
Anil.
Let's. So after you test, you see a success message below, and then the save button gets highlighted. We save this, and that's how our connector got added. So once we add this connector, now we want to bind this connector to our control. So we already have a table grid control. We'll select the query which we just created. We'll click on continue, and then here you can see the query as well. And
so Fanil, someone asked
you see the save button got highlighted.
Hi Fanil, hello. Fanil, can you hear me? Hello, Fanil.
Okay, so our
so
database.
Fanil, someone is asking
we are able
something.
to connect the database connector to our control. Okay, so let's go to the data option. So here it's a second control, email format control. It is asking us to send an email message, for example. So that is why it is creating a message for me. So it has created some message with here. The important point is table grid.result.rows.address. So just bear with me for some time. If this is not clear, we'll do a hands-on on this as well. But essentially, what it means is whenever an address of a table grid item which is selected, that will come and that will be replaced over here in the email format control. Let's click on save. And now we'll write an action to send an email. Okay, so we'll just on a click of a button, there is a button down. So we'll add a action, email action, and here we'll ask. So we can use the genie to fill it for us. And then let's click on continue. Here you can see the email address we have put the recipient's one, and click on continue, finish. So our email action is done. So now the app is ready to try it out. So let's click on preview. So here you can see this details. I got it from my database. I can look into it in my connector logs as well. This was the response from my connector. I'll just open the first item and I can verify. So now on the right side, it pre-filled with empty address. If I click on one, you can see the address got replaced. And then let me click on email. It will open the email to option of email. So it will open my mailbox with these details. It isn't visible on the screen, so you can just add this. Sorry? It's not visible on here. Okay, so you can just add this. Okay, okay. Let me. Okay. So it will open. It's opening a Gmail. Sorry, email. Okay. So we got the tutorial app working. And we can publish as well and make it live. But our now main goal is to let's dive in creating two apps. So today we'll be building two applications. First application would be a admin panel application where we'll managing the customer's data and we'll be updating the order status. And the second app would be a end user, you can say for our end customer, we'll be creating that app where end customer can view the products, add it to the cart, order it, and then even view the status of that order. Okay, sounds good. So let's start by creating a new app. Yeah, I will show them. Just so there is one link which we have shared, right? A drive link. Let me. So in this drive link, this is the customer admin panel where these are the two parts. In the first part, you can see this is the manage customer screen we'll be building. Here we'll be able to edit the name, add a new customer, edit everything, or we can delete it. So that is first part. Second part would be we'll be updating the order. So this order which the end user has placed, we can update the order status. And the second app which is there, which is a cart app, which will look like. Okay. So here we will be able to browse the products, add the products to the cart, order now. And once you order, you can view the status of that order. Sorry, not this. View orders. I think there is. Yeah, I think that screen is missing over here, but it will show you the orders which you have ordered. Okay, so shall we proceed now? I'll close the current app which is there. So let's create a new app. So let's start an app from scratch. But there are various templates you can explore for on your own, like whichever fits your use case. So it will create UI for you, and then you can just bind your business logic to the application. So let's create a blank app. Let's call it customer admin panel. So we'll be managing customers and update order status. So you can give your own icon as well, or you can select from a preset icons. So everyone with me? All of you have created the application? So for adding a customer, we'll have to first get a list of customers, or we'll need to have a database or a API for the customers. So we have a API generator tool to create mock APIs quickly. So I would suggest you can create an API from here. So over here, we on the drive link which is shared, we have a admin panel folder where in the part 1 you will find a CSV of customer list. So here we are just dumping a test data to a API generator. It will create a API for us. So let's proceed with that. So we can download this. So I already have this downloaded. So I'll just proceed and browse this CSV file. Okay, it has these 4 tables which are there. And let's click on next. Let's call this customer info API. Okay, so once you click on generate API, it will create a test API for you to test. So I'll just copy this. So we'll add this as a connector. So I'll go to from the studio home screen, I'll go to the connector section. So here you can add various connectors which you have. So it could be a database connector, or it can be a REST API connector, or there are ready API connectors which you can use. So you can see all these are ready API connectors we provide out of the box. So for now, it's a REST API. So I'll just select a REST API. I'll call it a customer info. API, and the authentication type we support for REST API are I think almost all the authentication types we support over here. But the mock API does not require any authentication, so I'll just do this. This is the test API. I'll just test this, and you can see the test data which we have uploaded. This API returns our data. So it has 30 items. Let's save this. So now our connector is created, but there are few things we need to add, right? We want to add a customer, delete a customer, update customer details. So you can simply download the open specification 3 file from the API generator you have created, and it will do that for us. So I am just downloaded it. So here I'll just close this customer info API, which I created right now. I'll just click on import API option and just select the file which you have downloaded. Okay, so this is the file which got downloaded. So here you can see all get, post, put, patch, delete, all those methods, APIs are already created. Let me import it. It will show me a review screen. It's stating successfully imported. Yeah, I think I'll just close this. I think I'll keep this zoom level as 50%. So if you see, customer info API has all these APIs created. So only small modification we'll have to do in our. So we'll be doing a pagination of our API customers details table, not customer details API. So we'll just update that get API. So I'll just update. So this is by ID. The second API is what we can update. Yeah, the second last API you can edit. So here this API is mainly for pagination. You can see the page number, all these options are there. You can remove the sort page sort. So you can keep start and end over here. So and you can remove, I think limit should also do the job. And let me give a test value, for example, 10 page size, and it will start from 0. Let me edit it up. If you see over here, there is paginate underscore page and limit, and there is slice. Start and end we can take. Let me take start with end. So this API seems to be working. Yeah. The thing is now the page number is what we'll have to then do it. Follow. Let me just I just tried this one. Let me check that page. Start and limit. Does that. So whether instead of page, if I do a start. Yeah, this seems to be working. Let me just check if the endpoint is correct. Customer info API, method get API. Yeah. I'll just remove other. Let me start afresh. Start and limit. Okay, we'll use these two columns. Limit would be 10. Let's start with 1. So it is working now. So let me save this now. I'll update this get by paging. But in no code, you can resolve it quickly. So let me save this. So now I'll go to the connector section. I'll just refresh the connector since we have added this info API right now. You see this API got added. Let me quickly add a table grid control. So basically, we want to manage the customer data. So first we'll receive the, as in view the customer info in the table grid control. So in the data section, I'll just select the data option. We'll select a connector. So over here, the first API is what I had added just now. So let me add that. And let me select get by paging API. So in the start option, you can select So table grid control has few properties which are there. So you can select a offset property over here. And for limit, there is a table grid dot properties dot page size property. Sorry, limit property. And these are the columns which are there. You can even refresh response and check the data. We can even get the live data of the API. Let's click on test and finish. So here, if you see, we got the data over here. We'll have to now enable pagination for this. So I'll go to the properties section of table grid control. There is an option called enable pagination. Yeah, so allow pagination option is there. And here the page size I can keep 25 because our data itself is 30 in size. So let's keep 25. And the default offset is by default when the first API is being called, what should be the default page or start index which we have given, right? Offset. So it can be any number, but I am keeping it 0. We support other type of pagination also. There are 2 types of pagination we support: limit based and cursor based. Cursor based is basically we get a last ID in the first API call, and then next API call we call it from that last ID in that request parameter. So that is how cursor based works. So yeah, so our pagination has been set up. Let's check in preview how it's showing up. So here you can see there are 25 list items are there, and the second page will have 5 items. So you see it get disabled and all. So now, so if you would have noticed, the cust ID, all that is not that user friendly. So we can simply go to our connect data section. We can edit the display name like customer ID. Name we can just say. We can simply call this as email. And we can simply call this as active. And this ID is something which is internal in nature. So we can just hide this ID. Also, we can change the formatting of the column types. On email, I'll make it the format type as email. And for active user, you can see it's a 1 and 0. So we'll shortly transforming that one to a human readable value. So we'll call it as a tag. And this tag would be we can add options over here. So basically there are 2 broad classification of our user type. It can be active and inactive state. Active, inactive. So if it is an active type, we can make this as green in color. And if it is inactive, we'll make it red in color. So let's click on finish. So that's how we can format, and we can even see that changes right in front after we finish this. Yeah, so this I think we'll have to save in. Yeah. So now this active inactive I spoke about earlier, we'll have to transform this data. Okay. So I'll go to the connector, I'll edit the connector. So in my connector over here, this is the place where you can transform the incoming data to any data you want. So over here, you can see, you can view the raw response. And then I'll just simply iterate through this array, replace the value of active user from 1 to active. And if it is 0, then I'll make it inactive. So for this, there is a JS code which we have provided in that drive link. So there is this one, a transform customer data. If you just open this sheet, you can just copy the JS code. So you can write your code as per your requirement. So I can even test this data, and I can view the response in transform response. So here if I can see it's active. So let's click on test and finish. And let's preview it. So you can see our the JS code is working, formatting of email and all is working, this tag color and all is working. I think the ID we have hidden, let me just double check. Yeah, it should not be visible. Okay, so from this preview also it went. So now next thing is let's move dive into adding and editing the columns, adding and editing the customers. So let me go over here, the properties of the table grid control. So here we can simply choose which columns to be made editable. So I'll select for now all the columns except ID. So ID is a primary column which we can say that we don't allow, and adding we allow all this column again except ID column. So here you would have noticed you can see a pencil icon which indicates that it is editable, and below there will be a add more button. So which I think should be visible. Yeah, it is visible. Yeah. So this add row and edit row. So now we have just done a UI level change. Now next step is to actually making a change in our database. So what we'll do is we'll go to the data section. Sorry, the action of this section of the table grid. There is a save changes event. So it gets fired when the user either edits or adds a row. So here we'll have to now add a branch, and the branch will have two conditions. So for branch one, let's say it's a add row branch. Okay. So here the condition would be simply table grid dot properties dot added rows, new rows. Okay. So if that value exists, this branch will return true, else it will return false. Similarly, for this, we'll have a edit row option, and here we'll simply add table grid dot properties dot edited rows. If the value exists in this will return true, otherwise it will return false. So now the add and edit segregation is clear. Now let's add. So we can have a multiple addition at a time. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to iterate it. So before that, I'll just showcase you what we are actually going to do over here. So in this here, is it visible? So we'll iterate to the list of rows, and then we'll write a JS code which is required for our API. So that is how the iteration will perform. And then once that is completed, we'll refresh the control data. Okay. So similarly is the case we'll do for our edit row option. So let's go to our app. I'll open the save changes. I'll add a iterate task. So here iterate task, the condition, how many times it will iterate is basically the size of the new rows which we have added, right? Properties dot added rows. Properties dot added rows or new rows, sorry. So that many times this task will get iterated. So now in that, in each individual task, we'll have to do a JS code block. So in JS code block, we'll simply add that. So each iteration will have its unique index and value. So index is basically it's a first index, second index, third index. But we are more interested in its value, like first index, what is the value of the customer's input. So for this, the value you can simply go to the drive section. So there is a B document over here. So here, this would be the test value of iterate task dot value. So I'll just copy it. So test value is required for us to test it while we are building the application. So here I'll just put that test value and I'll go back again and copy this code block. So what we are doing over here is we are taking this value and taking exposing that in a output object. So why we are doing that, we'll understand that in the next step. Okay, so I'll just copy this. So I'll give this name value. And now if you see whatever parameters I add, it gets added as a input of my JS code block. I'll just paste. And the important point to note here is, if you remember in our database, the value is saved as 0 and 1. So over here, we are transforming 0 and 1 again, active, inactive back to 0 and 1, because we want to put that again in our database. So you can see this being updated, and we'll simply expose our keys, right, over here using variables. So customer ID, customer name, all this we want to input it in our database, right? The API in this case, but yeah. So just let us add a you can give any name you want. I'm just doing. So once I add a JS code block, now next step is we want to add that in our API. Okay. So I'll go to my server side action, and then there is a customer API info, and here there will be a post method. Basically, that post API is for adding this customer info. So over here, we see there are 4 parameters which are there. So let's go ahead and add the iterate task. The JS code output variables. So these are the 4 keywords which we have added in the output variables. So we'll just map that accordingly. Name is mapped to name. Email is mapped to email. Similarly, active is mapped to active. And done. So our add section is configured. Now let's move to the edit option. So edit one is similar to the add one. So I'll quickly go ahead, add a iterate task. The keyword would be table grade dot properties dot edited rows. That many times it will iterate. Inside this, I'll write a JS code. In JS code, the parameter would be same in iterate task dot value. The test value you can get it from the Google document. So I'll scroll down over there. I can get the edited values. Give a test value, go back, copy the code. Here again, what we are doing is transforming active to inactive and exposing this keyword which is required for our API call. So we'll do the same. Let's test this out. You can see this has been updated. Let's click on continue. Oh, so we need to add variables of our keywords which we have created. So then only we'll be able to use it in our next task. So for editing, we'll need ID, cust ID, all 5 parameters. Email and active state. Because we'll be editing for this particular ID. So I'll simply write this name. So let's quickly configure our server-side action. Customer API, info API will add a post. Post is for adding a customer. We'll add a patch API. We'll update the customer info. So for a given ID, which is a JS code 1. So sorry. So each action has a unique name. So we already have a JS code added in our add iteration section. So similarly, the new one is the JS code 2. So we'll have to use that to be applicable for the edited one. So I'll use this cust ID, cust name. Okay, so let's, this is also done. So once both the legs are over, we want to refresh our control, right? Because we have just updated the our backend with the API call. So let's refresh the control. So we'll just simply reset it, and there's a table grid control, which is the name of the control. So I think the add and edit is done. Let's do the delete part as well, and then we move about previewing it and see how it's working. So first we'll have to enable the delete action. So on the table grid property section, there is a delete option. So here you can see, you can enable the delete option. So at the top, you can see a delete icon is visible. And on the action side, we'll have to configure the delete action over here, delete click event. So in the delete click, I think it will be better we ask the user to, are you sure you want to delete or no? So let's create a confirm dialog task. So you can even take a dynamic input over here using what customer name has been selected, right? With a, so we can do that as well. This is a title. I think we'll just keep it short. The message would be a bit long and short. And then yes and no would be the 2 options. So if the user selects yes, this flag will run. If the user selects no, this flag will run. So let's create a custom. So we have a delete API over here. So here we'll simply select this. It accepts only one parameter, which would be table grid dot that internal primary key ID, which is there. Table grid dot ID. That's it. So after deleting, we would like to refresh the control. So let's do that. Done. So we are done with add, edit, delete. So let's preview this, see this in action. So here you can see there is a page 1, page 2. It has only 30 data. Let us add one more. Let's call it 1, 2, 3. Let's name it masterclass, email, and let's make it active. So let's click on save. Here the new rows flow would get triggered. So this has been refreshed. So now if I even reload this page, it's getting it from the API. So I'll just open the connector logs. We can confirm that from the API logs. So we are more interested in the last response, right? Which is 1, 2, 3 is what we added. So our edit flow is working correctly. Let's look at the add flow is working correctly. Let's look at edit option. So let's update the name to 18th October, for example. And let's make this user as inactive. I think that should be fine. And let's click on save changes. We are refreshing. I think the edit flow. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll open the action flow of save changes and add it rows over here. And the JS code block. Yeah, so here the iterate task 2 should have been used. So iterate task 2 dot value. But before that, let me just copy the value again. Yeah, I think someone pointed that out. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's use. So we were using iterate task 1 instead of 2. That's why the values did not get executed correctly. So, yeah. Let's preview this. Let's try this edit option again. We'll try the same scenario. Masterclass 18th forward. And let's make it inactive. So let's open the connector logs, click on save. This is refresh. You can see this, right? It has become inactive and 18. Here you can confirm from the API response. And yeah, inactive 18th October. So now finally let's delete the user which we have created. So once you select, you can see the delete icon got highlighted, right? So let's click on delete. Let me open the connector logs again. So here it called the delete API, which gave us success, and the new API response did not return the masterclass customer name. So we are done with the customer admin panel app. Like we are able to now manage customers while adding customer, deleting customer, viewing customers, and deleting customers. So let's move to the second use case now for our end users. So we can simply publish this. So let's create a new app called DHQ Cart. So what will this app do is, I think I already spoke earlier, like we'll be asking the users to add items to the cart. So user can order product. And view order info. So let's select the icon. Let's create an app. Okay, so before we move on to the second app, do you have any questions? Or are we good? Okay, it's good to hear no questions. So, I'll just simply close a few tabs which are there. So over here, we can move to the second part of the folder, which is the drive folder, which we have shared. So over here, this would be our order screen, which will look like. So this is the end output. We can always beautify this, but for the sake of time constraint, we'll keep the beautifying part.
Can you publish all the?
Yeah. So I have already published this application, right? The first app which is there, no, I've already published. So now when I log in into my web.dronahq.io, sorry, I think this. I'll just log into this account. So as you can see, this customer admin panel we had published 2 minutes ago. So which is available. I'll open this. The same output you will see what you saw it in the preview. And you can see the view all customers. I can add a customer 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 5. PHQ. I think. Okay. So once I do a save changes, it will reload. Yeah. So that's it. The ad is working on the publish package. The same will apply to our mobile application, which is Android and iOS. So one thing I think I can also tell you, like if you want to design a different UI for your mobile app, so you can simply switch to a mobile view and you can design your application like you don't want, you want to move few controls up and down, then that will persist for only mobile. By default, we open it as a web view and we automatically translate that into a mobile. But you have that configuration or flexibility to design differently for mobile as well. Okay, so okay, so we are at the DHQ cart app. So let's start. So before for this cart application, we'll need a list of products to browse through, and then we'll also require a order details API to submit those orders information. So in the drive, I have added 2 CSV files. So we can simply download this product.csv and order details.csv files. And we'll go to the API generator and simply add the product API and so let's start by adding a products.csv file. Let's go to next. It has 4 columns. So product number is the unique name for this. Product name, ID, price, image. So it has 5 products. Let's call a friendly name, product API info, for example. So let's generate the API. So let's copy this API URL. Let's add it in our studio. So in our studio, go to the connector section, add a API. It's a REST API. So let's add products details info API. Will follow the same. Only thing is for product endpoint, we only need get all products API. We are not managing the products as of now. So I would suggest we simply update the test API name to get product info, get products API. So we don't have to import the open spec3 file, download and upload that. So we're just saving time in that. So if you see the products details info has this test API got created. One we can even edit and test this API. We can see the response over here. Now let's also add a orders info API. So I already have this. Let me delete this, or let me edit and give a different name. Just to avoid confusion. So let me go to connectors, REST API connector, no auth, orders info API, and let me go to the API generator first. I'll have to update a new API, orders.csv file from the drive link. You can download this and then upload it in the API generator. So let me browse, add order details. Next. So right now you can see only one dummy data is added, but we can simply move ahead with that. So the API name will change. Orders API. Let's click on generate API. So here you can see the new API got generated. Let's copy this and go to our connector section. And let's click on test and save. So orders info API is the name of our connector. We'll simply download the open 3 specs JSON file over here, because for order we want to add orders to a database. So let's download that and simply import this file. So orders info API, import API. Let me do a file upload. Okay, so here you can see there are all those methods that have been added. It's give me a success message. Let's close this. Now let's come to our DHQ cart app. Let us refresh our connector just so that it reflects the newly added orders info API. So now we'll take a data store control that will act as a local database, which will get all the product information and save. So you can even use quick shortcuts to quickly add it. Quickly add, but not the table grid control we want. We want to add a data store control. So let's bind all the connector values, product values to this control. So we'll select orders info API. There is a get method to receive all the but not the orders one. We want a product info API, product details info API, to get all the products. So we can even run this to see like what all columns are there. So these are the columns which are there. So let's click on this. Let's click on test and finish. Okay. So now what we want is user to browse and add items by using add more options. So we have something called as form repeat control, which will allow users to add items. Okay. So let's go ahead and add a form repeat control. So in form repeat control, we'll simply add a drop down, advanced drop down control. So we are using advanced drop down control because it has some features, support of images and all over here. that we can use or leverage. We'll also need a image control to display the image, product image over here. So we can resize and increase the height. Now, once the user selects a product, we like to view the price also of that particular product. So we'll add a numeric control. So once we add a numeric control, and there is one more item which we'll do, add is quantity control. So how many quantity the user requires of that particular product. Okay. Either we can do the action at together, and this price would be just a read-only part, right? We don't want it to be editable. So here we'll simply enable, make this control as read-only. We'll just update the name as price per unit. If you notice, when I change the label, the unique name also of the control changes, but it automatically, all your formulas gets auto updated likewise. So in the quantity control, I don't need a label to be shown. So simply I can add this. In the data part, it has two values, right? A title and a value. So by default, I'll keep the title as quantity. I'll save this. And value part, I'll keep it as by default 1. So now coming to the advanced drop-down control, we need a list of product items. So what we will do is we will write a, so the purpose of adding a data store over here is getting all this information from the connector separately. We will utilize the data store control to reuse those values for different controls. So you don't extra do a call on your APIs. So let me go to the data option on this. So drop-down control has two options, like by default also you can have a selected option, or by default you will have to configure the options field. So let us add, so it is pre-filling with a static data, but what I can do is I can write a SQL query also in that. So we do support, you can read more about it over here, but we support SQL query for on device running of data, or filtering and fetching the data. So select star from. So now the control is there, right? The data store control, you can add it in a double curly braces. So like this, any controls or variables you can add over here in the data builder using double curly braces. So here you can see it automatically shows the resolved values over here. And once I save this, so here it is saying you need to select the title and the value column. So in the properties section, you will have to go below, go down, and simply select what should be the title of the control which is being shown, right? So since it is a product, I think the name would be a good option to showcase, and the value would be the product number. Basically, it's an internal ID we want to show. So when the user selects that, we'll need to identify, right, what type of, we cannot do a matching by a name because different products can have a similar or the same names, but the ID will always be unique. Apart from this, as I said, the advanced control has image column support. We can even utilize this one. And yeah, so let us update the name of advanced dropdown as select products, for example. Right, basically user is selecting product. And now next is coming to the image, like whatever the product the user is selecting, we want to display a big image of that particular product. For this, what we'll do is, that is, we can even do that in SQL querying, like where clause, and but there is one more option where you can write custom formulas. So as I said, custom formula is something which we support. So we support most of the Excel-like formulas. If you are more familiar with Excel, so you can use custom formulas option and write SQL functions over here. To see the list of supported SQL functions, you can simply open the community, and there is a you can search for custom custom supported formulas. I think. So all supported formulas will give you list of all the Excel formulas which we support, and it has its usage and all. That you can edit in the custom formula section over here in the builder. And there is so in the all custom function list, you will see the extra functions which we have developed to provide support of few needs. Like if you see you have a string, you want to convert that string to JSON. It's a simple JSON.parse, but we have converted that into a function if someone does not want to write a JavaScript. So that is possible. So like that, you can go through the list over here. Currently, we will be using a filter function. So what filter function does is it filters out the data with the condition you specify. You can even give a sort and order option. So we'll use a filter option function over here for our image control. Okay, so I'll click on edit. So here basically we'll filter the image, right? So we'll have to write it in the square brackets, data store dot product image. And after that comma, and then we need to write a condition. What should be the matching condition? The matching condition would be if the selected product which is there, that number matches with our data store. So this is our entire list of products. In that, if ID matches or equals to select product at, okay, it is still showing advanced drop down. So I'll write advanced drop down.
Finally, it's in a form repeat. So you will have to write the form repeat and then.
Oh, yeah. So since it is in form repeat control, I'll have to write it inside form repeat dot selected products. Yeah. So once I save this, it should filter out the image. The condition is if the selected products matches with the data store.id, but this is the ID we have given a project number. So the product number is what we have given for the value to select. I'll show you that as well. So in the selected product in the value section, we have given a product number. That's the reason I have updated the formula. And the price per unit also, we can use a similar formula. I'll just copy this formula. So instead of product image, we'll take the product price over here. I'll go to custom formula. So we just need a product price. So now since we have a quantity as well, which is a variable, like user can update the quantity. So we'll need a, whatever the product is user has selected, we'll need to calculate the total price. So we'll need one more control we can add over here. That will be a numeric control. So we don't want to show this control to the user, so we can hide that always. But so it's a total unit cost. And the data for this would be simply multiplication of quantity and price. So we can use a simple data option, and in the double curly brackets, we can multiply quantity form repeat dot quantity. Quantity dot value. So since quantity is a composite control, it gives two outputs, quantity and a value of it. So we are more interested in the value, not the first part. So this multiply by, we'll do a form repeat dot price per unit, price unit. Okay. Trust me on this, the suggestion, even if the suggestion is not coming, you can go ahead and save this. And so we can make this readable, read only for now. And finally, we can even hide that. And lastly, what we'll do is when you purchase or view the cart, we need to a total cart amount we need, right? So that will add one more numeric control over here that will calculate total amount of total cost of the order. So here we'll simply do a multiplication of, not multiplication, sorry. There is a sum function, we can use that. Custom formula, sum will basically what it will do, it will take in all the array of values. Form repeat dot total unit cost. Okay, so it will show you all the sum. We can make this read only. So finally, once the user views and reviews the order, you need to add an action where it will say order now, some order now. So let's add a button to this. So basically the button would be order now. So we can even give an icon to this. So you can try exploring, like there are tons of features which I have not covered in this, but feel free to explore those. So you can see this icon is now appearing. Now on click of order now, I want that order to be added in our API or backend. So I'll go to the event of button click. Yeah. So before building this, I'll just show you like what is it we are trying to build over here. So let me open this. Is it visible? Okay. So here, firstly, we'll create a unique order ID using this compute block, and then we'll add that order in our backend database. Once that is done, we will notify the end user to via email, and we'll create a message builder for creating an email text to beautify the email basically. Okay, so let's start by building this. So let's go to our app builders. So we'll use compute block. In compute block, all the functions which I showed you will start work. You can add over here. So there is a unique ID generator function which will create a unique number at any point of time. Even if two users are calling this function at the same time, it will generate a unique random number, alphanumeric number. Okay. So let's call it unique. So let's call this as order ID. Okay. So this is what we'll call this number. So after this, as you can see, we have an API call to be added. Let's add this order in the orders info API. It will be a post request since we want to add a API. Let's consume a post endpoint. So here you can see there are 4 parameters, right? So order ID is what we have created in above section, variables.order ID. Customer email ID, you can take it from the user email keyword. Since if you are doing a logged in user flow, like the end user is logging into your Drona HQ client application, and then you can use this keyword. Currently, I am using a test email, so I am just hard coding my email address so that I'll be able to run this. As in, I will be able to receive this email. Order details is basically the form details. So order details is basically a form repeat control. So form repeat control returns a JSON structure. So you can directly dump that data in that, or you can filter out using writing a separate JavaScript code and filter out this value. For now, I'll just simply write the form repeat control, and order status is in pending state, right? So I'm just hard coding since it's a new order. We'll keep this as a pending state. And let's finish. On the success of this, we'll give us toast message, order successfully placed. You can even show a close button to this toast. Now, next is we want to create a message builder for our email content. So I'll add a message block. There is a set message block. So there are two types of message block you can create, HTML and rich text. Rich text is basically a HTML content you can create. So in the drive link, you will find a set message rich text in action flow. So let me just copy this. So you can copy this HTML from start till end, from here till it is closing. Okay. So once I add this, so here I can simply even design it, or I can open the code view and simply paste this over here. So I'll do the second part, and now I can go back to this view. So you can see what we have done is, thank you for ordering. This is bold. We have added a link over here, and I'm adding an order number. And finally, we are doing that. So once we click outside, this double curly braces, whatever is inside, no open close, it will create a variable down, and where you can apply your keywords or formula. For us, order number is what we have created randomly. So that will be sending it in email, and link for now will give a Google link. So here, finally, what we'll do is we'll send a order tracking link over here instead. So let's design this. Let's finish this. Okay. And now let's add a email server side action. So we have various email client support. Gmail is one of them. There is Outlook, and you can even use SendGrid, or you can use your own SMTP connector to connect or for sending an email. So I'll use a Gmail one. There's a send email action. By default, I have one account configured. If you don't have one, go to the manage Gmail account, connect this account. So let me give a name. The signing with Google option. I'll sign in with my HQ ID. We need to give a permission to send email. Once that is done, you see this account get added. Just click on close. It will now start appearing in the drop down. You can select that account. So this you can do, like if you have more than one account, you can add multiple accounts, and based on your application use case, you can send from that particular account. So let's do a continue. From email is basically the email ID which you have created. So for now, for me, the from and to email is the same. So but in your real use case, it will be a dynamic in nature. It will probably be a logged in user. Okay. So you can use user email keyword over here. So the subject would be new orders received, for example. And we can even say order number over here. So we can use the same variables dot order ID. And you can give attachment as well if you want to share the invoice and all. You can keep the content type as HTML, and the message block you can give the one which we have created from the set message option, right? Message dot message. So now let's click on save. Let's do a preview to this. Let's see how this is configured. So we can even hide this data store control for now. So you can view a list of products with the image since it's an advanced drop down. Select product, and then you can use you can see the image and the price. So if I increase the quantity, you see the total unit cost is increasing. Similarly, I can go ahead and add one more product, household pack 2. Okay, so now the total order amount so you can see the total order amount 2695. So which we can verify adding this with this. I think it should be 2695. So now there are two issues over here. The image is not showing up correctly, and secondly, if there is nothing is selected, even if it is showing this. So for this, we have something called as rules. So we'll add rules to it, and even the image is a bit stretched. So two things we'll do now. We'll select the image box. I can even now, since we have confirmed that this is working fine, no, I can simply hide this control. I'll just make it over here. I'll make this hidden. Okay. So this total is no longer visible. The property of image box, I'll just go ahead and select as contains. So currently it is covered. So you should be able to see. And now we'll go to the rules. So basically what we want is when the advanced drop down or selected product is empty, we want to hide an image. So we'll go to the rules section. So there are two things we can do, like we can validate the control values as well. So for example, you don't want quantity to be 10. So we can write a rule over, we can validate over here. Or you don't want an email field in a form, you don't want the email field to be empty. So you can add that as well in the validation part. But since we want to hide show control, we'll use rule, we'll add a new rule. So here if the advanced form repeat dot advanced, selected product is empty. So we simply want to hide a form repeat dot image. And there is a very good utility over here. We just simply click on add reverse of true. It will add all the reverse of above condition. So it will save quite a bit of time. Let's save this. So I think, so this is what we wanted to configure. We can, there is a space now. We can make this a bit up. Let's move this. Let's preview this. So you can see the image control got hidden if it is empty. if I add let me refresh this once. So here we seems to be getting a data from our connector. Let me check the formula for the options. Let's start from the test. Where else I'm getting now today? Let me add once again the advanced drop down control. I'm just kind of configuring the same settings again. Here I'm getting. Okay. So let me delete this. So this control is used in other places as well. I just quickly update. So in the properties, I'll configure the image column as well. I think a few of the formulas I'll have to update it. I'll just open that quickly. So you need not do this since you will not be facing this issue. You can ignore the few steps I'm doing currently. So I'll just update the rules as well now. Instead of old, we will select the new one. And in our ad, yeah. So let's click on preview now. Yeah, I'll do it soon. Okay. So we do some intelligence where the drop down comes up or down. So I think that needs some tweaking. So yeah, I think the earlier one also was working fine, just that the drop down list was coming above. Good. So now you can see this rule has been working as expected. Let's add more. Let's add a household, not the household. Yeah. Image one and yeah. So let's click on order now. So you can see this order has been added successfully. And the send email also we got a success. Let me open the email box. I should receive a order. So this is the end user. Not my email. So you can see I received a new order, received with order number. Since it is coming from me, otherwise we can give a different email ID. So uh, so here you can see I received the information of my order and there is a tracking link to the product. Currently we have given a Google link, so it is opening a Google link. So now the next step is how do we give a proper link for tracking the orders. So before that, we'll have to publish the application once. So we have added the order. So since this application will be shared via a email address and it is a public link, so we can enable the public distribution on for this application. We will get a public link. That link we can use and edit in our application. So in the link which we create. So we'll go to the share option. Over here, you can see there is a public access toggle. We'll simply enable this toggle. We'll copy this link. So by for now, if you directly open this link in a new window, it will show you the current application which we are developing, right? With all the details we have configured. So the next step is we'll have to embed this link in our email address, right? So we'll go to our order now option. Over here. So for adding a email, so we want to add an order ID in our link. So what we will do is, so there are two things we will do. So order ID is something we share it with the end user, but there will be something. So currently we are using get ordered by ID API, which uses a different API. So your backend can be designed in such a way that you can accept this order ID as well in your API. But the current API which we have added from the mock generator accepts a ID parameter, which is the internal ID parameter. So what we will do is we will create a query string parameter. So we'll simply add two query string parameters. Those will be, one is for, sorry, I think it got saved. So we will add two query string parameter. One will be the order ID, which we are showing it to the user. We can give a test value. This is only for testing purpose. And then one is an internal order ID. Okay, so I'll just name it internal ID for now. And this value also I can give 1, 2, 3, 4. For example, I can give 1. So now once we add this, we need to add a view order tracking screen as well in this application. So we'll go ahead and add a new screen. We can name it a view order screen. So we can give a header and a footer name. So over here, what we'll do is we'll read those query string parameters. Just imagine the link with a order ID and an internal ID is being received in this application. So we'll add two controls over here. So we can add text input control simply. Okay. So one can be an internal ID and one can be a order ID. So order ID is what we can show it to the end user. And internal ID, we need it for calling the API. To get order details by ID API, we'll need this for. So simply we'll make this read only. For now, we are not hiding it so that we are also able to see what we are building. Both will be read only. Now we'll go to the data section. In variables and keywords, we'll have a order ID as a query string parameter. So once I add this and save this, so this is the test value I've given, but in actual scenario, I'll be able to see the actual order ID which is passed in the query string parameter. Similarly, for order ID, internal ID, we will add a query string parameter called internal ID and save this. So if you remember, we've given a 1 as a test value for internal ID query string parameter. And next is we simply just display the current order status. So we'll add a form repeat, not form repeat, sorry. We'll add a detail view card. Okay. So detail view card, what it does is it accepts a JSON object and it transforms and displays it in a friendly manner. So since our order details has a bit of JSON in it, we'll use this control for that. So here we just bind the get orders by ID API. So we'll go to the connector section, go over here, orders info, and here we'll have a by ID by get. So ID get API. So when you select this, we just have to pass an internal ID to it. These are different types. Yeah. So guys, I think I've been making change in the customer admin panel application. So we'll simply need to do it over here in the DHQ card application. So let us copy this. We can copy this screen for now. We haven't done much over here. Thanks for pointing it out. So we'll add a new screen over here. So yeah. So we'll have to just reset the query string parameters over here from this application, order ID and internal ID. And we'll have to add it over here in this application. So we can even verify, like we can save this again to check if our formula saved correctly. The same applies to the order ID as well. So the detail view, we simply have to consume the get by order by ID API for our order details card, order info API. So there is ID underscore get. So here we simply pass this internal ID as a parameter and it will return the list of. So there are two things. I think ID and keywords have a similar name. So I'll select a control for this since we are viewing that. And here we are simply using all the fields of our order table or order API, you can say. So here, if you remember, like we tried adding that data which had one row. So that order ID is 1. So that is what we can see over here. So before that, let us add one order. So we have added one order. Let's make this 2. So we'll get the our earlier sent data. We'll be able to display. I'll make this 2 and so this got changed to 2 and I'll just update the formula again to get the updated value. Okay. So this is what we are getting. So if I preview this, we'll all see the similar UI over here. Okay. So now this order details is a JSON object. So we'll simply format that data, and order status we can make it as a single tag. So let us just format that like we did for table grid control. We can do the formatting of order details and then we'll do a JSON type. And for a status, we'll do a single tag where there are 2 values for now. One is a pending value and second would be a completed state. So pending and completed. So completed, we can make it green. Pending is, I think it's fine. Let's finish this. So now, if you see the order ID or internal ID are the 2 query string parameters we have added. So we want to add these parameters in our link now. So going to our link, I'll open a action flow. So over here, we already got a link of the application from public access option. We'll copy that. We'll paste it over here. Then like we do a query string addition, right? We'll do a question mark, order ID equal to, and then the value would be, basically it's a variable block, right? Over here. So we can simply use the use keyword option over here. Variables.order ID. And so there is a, so the second ID is mainly for our internal purpose. So internal ID equal to, so this ID we can give an internal ID keyword. Let me just check what is the unique ID of that. It is internal ID. So I'll tell you why it is not opening, because since it was minimized, no, I'll just save this once and I'll reopen this. So it will regenerate this keyword again, reinitialize the keyword over here. So I'm going to the first screen again, go to the action, edit, message, and simply going to the end, and I'll now get internal ID option as a control. Okay. So I can use that, and that's it. So I have now configured the app tracking URL as well. Now only thing is our application's current home screen is the view cards order now screen. So simply we can do a on screen open event where we can use a compute block to read the current query string, which is internal ID, right? Internal ID. And here what we will do is we will navigate to order screen. Which is screen 2. So here we can write a condition. So if this condition is true, only then it will navigate to a screen 2. So here the condition would be if the variables dot internal ID, the variable which we have created in the previous task, right? If it is greater than 0, then it will navigate. Okay. So if we don't do this condition, no, I'll show you what will happen. Otherwise, there is whenever that public link is open, they will view the home screen, not the view order details screen. So that's the reason we have written a screen open event. So let us preview this. So you saw, like, I tried opening a screen one, but it directly opens screen two. That is because we've given an internal ID as 2 as a test value. So I'll just do a change in the test value to 0. And now even in preview, it will not navigate, only if that it come across a query string value greater than 0, it will navigate. So I'll simply publish this application. So we have added query string parameter right now. And publish. So you can try the public link and try ordering. That also is possible. You can do the same in preview as well. And now this time when the link comes in, you will receive a tracking URL, which you can click and open over here. So I received the new order. Here the link, once I click on this, you can see there are 2 parameters. When I click over here, yeah, I think the second parameter did not get replaced. So we'll go back. So if you see in the link, the order ID we got it correctly, but the second part, internal ID, we got I think a control unique name we got. So let me. Let us open the message block of that order now. Okay. I think the internal ID is getting replaced. Okay. So yeah. So I think we haven't taken the ID which we have created in the earlier one. I'll open this screen. Let me. So this API, when we are adding this thing, when we are adding a order in our API, we are not getting the output response. So output.api ID is basically our internal ID, right? So this ID, we have to configure it in our message block. So let me go back again. So the internal ID is equal to the name of this dot ID. So yeah, so now I think we'll have to republish this again. Okay, so this has been published. Let me do a preview. Hmm? What? It said after 1 minute. Oh. So guys, 1 minute. We are facing some issue with the projector. So give us a moment. So how many of you are able to publish the application and try it out? Why it's not for getting published? Okay. So shall we take a short Q&A till we figure this out? No, completion part is still pending. It's a small 15-20 minutes. Yeah. Correct.
Some basic and that form can move level of validity. And then rest of the thing you have many API. So it can go and applications for a startup business. That may require more extensive understanding how terminology is also not that easy. People like me, with this basic application, you can take some quick recap how to get UI just fill in it might help.
Sure. I think we have shared a drive where we have added the information of the API details. There are few screenshots also over there where how the final app would look like. I think those three things will help. Like you can connect with the current session. In case you are having more suggestions, do let us know. We'll add it over there. In the okay. All right. Thank you. So, all right, we are back up again now. Let's resume. So we can resume now. So last we were at publishing the application. So I'll just open that application, DHQ cart application. We were previewing it, running the product. And let's add that 1797 is my total order amount. I should receive a email stating the new orders received with order. So now when I click on this, it should take me through to the view order tracking screen. Here you can see internal ID equal to 4. So that is how I know that I am able to get the query string parameter And here I am seeing my formatting is working as correctly. So here there are few additional keys which are there. You can always do a transform response to remove the keys or to update the key values, key names and all. So I think the tracking of this has been done. Now the last step is the customer admin app, which is there we have created, should be able to update the order status, and we can even notify the end user. So the whole purpose is to have an end-to-end what you can say managing of the orders. So let's go to the so here so before we move to the ad so before we move to the add customers panel, so you would have noticed that the public URL of our application, anyone can use this, right? So in case you only want authorized users to access this application, so in that case, what you can do is there is something called allow only authorized users to use the application. So in your share options, sorry, not in the, yeah, here you can go to the embed configuration. So initially when I told you like the app, public app, you can embed it in any of your website or uh, iframes. So you can do that over here using this piece of code. But if you are sharing the URL, you can simply enable this toggle. What it will do is it will restrict the public link of your application uh, behind Drona HQ login. So I'll now simply copy this. Since I'm already logged in, it will open, but I'll just delete my cookies. So you can try this out. It's a good handy way. Yeah, I can use in normal browser as well. But, so I'll delete the cookies for web.drona.hq and I'll simply refresh this. So I think this is also not required. Okay, so cookies and local storage are two things you can try it out to just refresh this. So it will take you to the login page. So only after user enters a valid login, I just enter the login again. So if you see after login, it will taking me to this. So that's a good handy way of protecting your application for unauthorized usage. At the same time, you are making it accessible publicly. So now let's move to the next step, the first step, where we want to just simply add, we want to add or update the order status. So I'll delete this screen. I think it got created separately. So let me add a new screen where we'll simply view the orders details and we'll just update the order status. That's it. What we'll these two things we'll do. So for that, we'll add a table grid control. So here we'll bind a connector. So we already have a orders info connector, which has a get method to get list of all the connectors. So there are two of them. I think the one which does not have any parameters, no, you can take that. Yeah, this does not have any parameters. You can even do a refresh response to see or fetch a list of orders from here. So let's click on test and finish. So we will simply update the order details, format it to JSON type, and customer email will make it email type, and finally the order status will make it sorry, order details will make it a single tag format. So at the start, we had a pending state, and then we had a completed state. So these are the two options we have. So we can even give colors to it. So pending can be completed, we can make it green. Let's simply finish and let's run this. So we are now able to see list of orders. So now updating the status, we'll have to write a edit of, make this order status as editable, and we'll have to design an action flow for that. So over here you can see like what is our end goal is. So I'll go to the first admin panel section, update order status part 2. And here you can see like this is the action flow we'll be doing. Like we can add update multiple status at a time. So we'll do a iterate task. We'll write a JS code so that we'll transform the data in the required format for the orders API. And then we'll call the orders API and simply refresh the control. So let's first make the order status as editable. So you will notice this turning into a pencil icon. And let's go to the save changes. So here, since we are just doing an edit option, we don't need to add a branch. We'll simply add a iterate task. Iterate task, the condition would be the table grade control, which is table grade 1. Table grade 1 dot properties dot edited rows. So we will loop through all the edited status items and we'll write a JS code block. So here the value would be iterate tasks dot value, and here you simply go over on towards the drive link. There is this update order status JS code flow block. You can copy the JS code over here. This is the test value for the value field, and this is the JS code for that, for the same. So let's test this out. We'll be able to see the response over here. So here you can see the order status. We are simply whatever is the order status, we are passing it over here. So here the order status is placed. So we need to add those as output variables over here. ID is for internal ID, the API which accepts, and then we'll add. So ideally, if your API is specifically designed to update a status, it should accept only two parameters, internal ID and a status. But since we are reusing the mock API, it requires all the parameters. Otherwise, it will make the other parameters empty. It will treat that as you are updating it to empty values. So that's the reason we are taking all the updated values. So you can give any name. Okay. And now we'll just simply call update API or put API. Orders info. We will do a put API. So your ID would be our JS code. Order ID, customer email. So we'll simply map the above values over here. Okay. So now we'll once this iteration is done, we'll simply refresh the table grid control. So this is table grid 1. That's it. So let's try this out in action. So I think the order status is placed. So let me just edit the property again. So these are the two states, placed and completed. So we'll have to update the formatting of. So I think here I've written pending. Let me make it placed. So it should now change it to purple. So let me now. I think the saving is in progress. So we'll wait. Okay, so now it has changed to purple. Let's preview it. So now let's change this completed to placed. For example, let's click on save. The order ID 2 we have updated. Yeah. So you can confirm that order ID 2 as in the get API response. The order ID 2, the order details has been changed to placed. All right. So now we can even notify the end user like your order has been updated or is in the completed stage. So all that business logic you can build on top of this. So I'll just do a quick recap. Let me go over here. So we can publish this application and then your end users can able to use the admin panel app as well. Okay. So in the first step, we did two things. We were able to manage customers, add, update, delete customers. And then finally, in the second stage, we updated the order status. And in the second app, so I'll just go through the one by one pointers. We are able to connect customers, bind data, paginate, transform response, format columns, add, edit rows, delete action, and we did publish. And in the second application, let's go. We added a product API, bind data to a data store. Then we used a form repeat control, applied rules, orders API, configured action of orders, query string, use, yeah, enable public access, message, enable verified access. Yeah, so I think we have completed two applications. And there are much more to Drona HQ, like we have not covered in this short span of time. So if you reach something like I talked about custom functions, if there is something which you want to do and you are not able to do it, you can even write your own custom functions in the there is a section called function editor is what we call it under extensions. So here you can write your own custom JavaScript functions. Second, you are not liking the controls or UI element, you want to create your own UI element. So in that, there are two ways of building it. You can add a control from our designer marketplace, or there is one more option in the extensions where you can use a control editor. This is much more advanced. All our controls which we are showing up in Studio in the control sidebar have been created through this control editor. So this is quite powerful, but with great power it comes a lot of code. So that's a second version. Designer is if you are good at Photoshop, you like adding layers and designing it, you can use control designer. So UI element is one part. For control connectors, the second big thing we support is there is something called as multi-step is what we you can explore, where you can do much more than calling a single API call. If you have a complex authentication type, like you want to call a API to get a JWT token, and then you want to validate the JWT token in another endpoint. So multi-step auth is the way to do it. Apart from this, there are various other APIs we support, gRPC, gRPC, and these are all ready APIs, GraphQL, and these are all DB connectors we support out of the box. So now coming to, so I covered the UI element and the connectors element. The third element, which is most important for big enterprises, is the data privacy concerns. So we do have a on-prem or self-hosted version of Drona HQ, where you can do one-click installation and deployment using Docker images. So that you can find those links in Drona HQ website. I think any questions we can take. I think we have 15 minutes now. Yeah, coming to that app permissions part. Yeah.
How secure or
so we are ISO 27001 and SOC 2 type compliant. Apart from that, we have various, so we are currently hosted in AWS. We have all the security enabled over there, right from CloudTrail to Detective to logging part, storing the database in encrypted format. So we do have a dedicated support for that, the security part of. Yeah. Then those support will so if you have your own on-prem setup, then you will have those access. So we won't have. Yeah, so that's what in our cloud we already have all those security checks and balances in place, where unauthorized detection and all is been prevented, and the data is kept secured, and it's not accessible to other customers or something. So I'll cover that part, the app permissions. So I remember that. So let me log out from this account. Yeah. So here you can see there is a edit permission option. So whoever is the app owner will get the granular permission to edit the app access to those users. So this is applicable only to admin users. So here you can assign these roles individually. So owner is someone who can give permission to other users. So publisher has all the permissions, and then there is a editor role which can only edit the application but cannot publish it. The preview role can be for a guest viewing, you want to give access to, or your testing team you want to give access to. And then there is none permission. So even if I see the icon, the user will not see the icon altogether if you mark it in none. Or also you can give those permission by a group, like you have a sales group where you don't want to give, or you want to give those permissions. So that you can. Sorry? This rules groups creation is up to you, like which user is been added to what group is mapped by yourself. So if you go to the user management, so not able to, let me zoom out.
Like read, write, edit, view. These are standard synonymous for some of the customer feedback for this kind of different character.
Currently, the comment view option you are talking about, like
comment.
Yeah, using comments.
Not have capture user credentials or user ID. Still I need to.
So you can. The builder rights, you will have to create an admin user, and then you can create a viewer role. They can view the application. But adding a comments, they can give it separately. Right now, we don't have a commenter role. We can add a commenter role, I think, in the roadmap. But yeah. So here I was talking about the manage groups option you will find, where you can add a user to a group, and you can add a new group and manage a group. So you can edit the same UI you can see. Same applies to connectors as well. Like for your connector, you want to give only editor or a use only role. That also you can give from it. And there are a few things I've missed. As in, you can also have a version control of your own. Currently, that is supported on the self-hosted version, but soon we'll make it available for the cloud version as well, where you can, instead of managing the app publish version at our SaaS end, you can manage it via your own version control, Git or Bitbucket or any other version. Yeah. So now there is one option of exporting the app, like you can export. I'll go to that same account. Let me go there.
Yeah, so this we can publish on Microsoft App Store also, and some kind of open source activities.
So these applications are mini apps, as I said. Those gets published within our main all-in-one container. So all-in-one container is available in Android App Store, Android Play Store, iOS App Store, web version, and we have a Chrome extension for this container.
How to explore more about this?
Yeah. I'll explain. So there is a community.dronahq.com where we update all the new features we add. We update it over there. Each individual documentation we make it available as and where it is required. So for example, for a controls documentation, you can either go to community or there is an eye icon over here. You can click on this and read more. You can go to that control car documentation. Similarly, for connectors also, there is when you add a connector, you select it, you can go to the docs option of individual connectors. For screens and all, I would suggest you look at the community.dronahq, and there are new releases. So over here, like major product announcements we added over here. And usually, I think all the monthly updates you can find, like September, in the product announcement section. So those are all big announcements. There are many under the releases we do. Those you can find over here. So let me close this. So over here, there is a updates option. Here you can find individual updates. And you can directly search to the community over here, right? You can even search this, and this will do the similar thing for you. So now if I want to duplicate an app, or I want to add an application in another account, you have a test account and you have an original account. So in that scenario, what we can do is simply so this app is published. So let me republish it since we added admin panel orders. So now over here from the release history, over here on the settings, there is an app export. So there is a app export option. I think somehow it is getting closed. So there is a second last option over here in this list, app export. It will download the app JSON and you can import that app JSON from your application homepage. Here you can simply do a import app. So there are two ways of importing. Right now, the get sync I talk about is not available. So only a JSON you can import, and you can just browse the application which you have downloaded. So I am not able to export currently, but somehow I once I export, no, the only requirement here is whatever the connector your app is using, the same connector name should be there in the destination account. So if you are exporting and importing in the same account, then you need not worry about, so all your checks are covered. So you will be able to simply duplicate the application. Yeah, so I am able to export now. So it will show you like what all connectors are used in this application. Let me export this. So I downloaded a dhq card.json file. Let me choose import app, dhq card.json. So since I already have those same connectors added, no, it will not ask me to add any of this. So these are the three main connectors which has to be added in the destination account. And this is always like whatever the API is there, we override if we find the same name. So if we override A by A, it will remain the same. So it doesn't matter over here. So we'll do a confirm install, and here you can see like now two applications are there. One would be in the published state, other one would be in the draft state, since I have not published it, right? So this is the published app, this is the draft app. Oh, sorry, this is the published app, this is the draft app. So that's how import export of application works. Similarly, we have an import export of connectors as well. So in the connector section, you can export it and then export, and then simply you can do add connector and import option. So any other questions? So should we take the queries now? Yeah. So I'll stop my screen share now. It is blocking my view. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you can raise your hand. Anyone, if you have any questions, we'll take those one by one quickly. My speaker is not getting on. What? You connected, है ना? इसके लिए. Let me remove this. Let me remove this.
Anil, hello. Anil, hello. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
On this side, Ganesh. Anil, first we need to explore ना जितना भी आपने brief करा है, तो एक बार अगर अपन बाद में आपको क्वेश्चन आंसर कैसे भेज सकते हैं, अगर मैंने जितना भी अभी सेशन अटेंड करा है, तो उस सेशन में करने के लिए जैसे डेमो आपने दिया था.
If you have any questions, you can ask right away. अभी है क्या question? या गणेश.
मैं बोल रहा था कि उसको बाद में कैसे आप, मतलब अभी तो इतना क्विक सेशन अपन पूरा एक्सप्लोर नहीं कर सकते, तो अगर मैं इसको एक्सप्लोर करने के बाद कुछ क्वेश्चनरीज होंगी, तो वेयर आई नीड टू पुट अप दोज क्वेश्चन.
Community support you can add, no?
Okay.
There is a support.
Okay, Fanil. Thank you.
Yeah, you can even send an email as well.
ओके ओके, नो वरी नो वरी। बस मेरा ना एक क्वेश्चन था वैसे फाइनल ना, एक्चुअली जैसे हमारा जैसे कोई मेरा बैकएंड है, लाइक माय आई हैव ऑन माय डेटाबेस लाइक SQL, Postgres and Mongo. So whenever I want to connection with that test application from the Drona Studio, so how can I communicate between two systems?
So you can add a connector to your SQL or MySQL, whatever is the backend database. No? You
Okay.
can put in your connection string.
Okay,
Once
okay.
it is connected, no, you can use that connector in any of your application. So then the application will handle the connection part.
और से कहते सेम द एपीआई विल बी सेम वर्क लाइक जैसे अपन आपने बताया वैसे ही सारी एपीआई काम करेंगे। जैसे मेरे को लॉगिन करना है या किसी डीलर का प्रोफाइल देखना है, किसी प्रोडक्ट का कुछ देखना है, तो वी नीड टू क्रिएट यूर वे एपीआईज, राइट?
No, the API, no. What I showed, no, that was mock APIs I have created.
Okay.
You can use your APIs.
Okay. We can use means just we are using like a Ajax request.
Yeah.
So we can use this Ajax request there.
You need not worry of the Ajax request. Only what request would be required and what response the API will return.
Okay. In previously, what I am doing, I am just calling a base URL, like a entry point for somewhere in the PHP code. I'm using a PHP code, then or node code, then I am using the database access, right? So in this case, I can directly use database, right?
Yeah.
I don't need any base any entry point for that.
Oh, no.
Okay, that is my important question.
It is a SaaS hosted, right? So your database should be accessible publicly.
Okay.
Or you need to whitelist a specific IP address.
Okay.
Or can enable SSH.
Okay. SSL, we are currently we are using SSL domain, like, so we have restricted to IP address, so we can directly hosted our domain here.
You can whitelist our IP address, no? When you are adding that MySQL connector,
right.
Enable the whitelist IP option. So you will see what all IP address you will have to whitelist.
Okay. So finally, I will do practice over this connection, because that is more important for me. If I got any problem regarding that, then I will push a ticket, or I will push a community center to ask to help me out from this. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, final. Thank you.
Thanks, Ganesh. So, any other questions?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Actually, I want to know, as this meeting was recorded, so where we can find this recordings of for the further,
Can you speak a bit loudly? From what I could understand, you want a recording of this meeting.
Yeah. Actually, I thought these meetings were recorded. So for the future use, where we can find this for the reference.
Sure, we can send the recording across.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, any other queries? So anyone has any questions which are unanswered in the chat window? Do highlight so that we can answer those. Okay, all right. Yeah, okay. All right. Thank you everyone for attending the session. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Fanil. Thank you, Drona team.
In person. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.